Well, good evening. We are live on the Carolina Weather Discussion. This is the video podcast for Wednesday, April 16th, 2014, the day after tax day, a cold tax day across most of the Carolinas.
Just a very small preview of what's to come this evening. Welcome to the 300th episode of the Carolina Weather Group. I am James Brierton in Charlotte, and we are so happy that you are here with us tonight to celebrate our 300th show. The panel tonight includes, in Charleston, Shay Gibson and Evan Fisher. We have Scotty Powell, who is back with us in the western North Carolina foothills. We have Tim Pounds in the North Augusta area, and our friend, never to be left out, representing all of our Northeast transplants, he himself still up braving the cold in New Jersey. Hello to you, Peter, as well. So we're going to bring you at home into this conversation. We want to know if you have any favorite moments from the first 299 episodes of a show that once was called Carolina's Weather Discussion. Scotty, is that what this was called?
So yeah, that's what it was called first. I think when we originally started doing this, like how we still do our hurricane specials, winter storm specials, this was more just hey, it's a bunch of us weather folks who are in the Carolinas, and we're going to discuss about upcoming weather. It never was really, I think, intended to become what it is now, with us actually doing an interview with guests. So Carolina Weather Discussion was the name, I think, for maybe a year or two before we kind of transitioned into the Carolina Weather Group.
Well, despite its name change, I think so much of what we do is still very similar, representing weather, science, technology, and more from the Carolinas and beyond. So we don't normally do this. This is actually normally something that is reserved for a different weather podcast in the community. But if you have a drink, guys, tonight is the night. If you want to find something, Tim's got a cola or something, but and Scotty's is disappearing in front of his green screen. So we're off to a great start. But
ginger ale.
Yeah, very nice. So let's get to it. We're gonna have some special messages from some friends of the show coming up in just a little bit. But we've asked our panel to send us some of their favorite ideas. I'm not going to open this right this second because I think I just shook it up. But Scotty, you're back with us after a few weeks off. We'll talk maybe a little bit about that coming up because we know we have people who are interested. But do tell us, you were crunching the numbers. We've had how many panelists over the years?
Yeah, so just a few 300th show facts. Over 20 panelists. Our first show was December 5th, 2013. We've had over 125 guests. Over 15 National Weather Service offices represented on our show. Brad Panovich, Tim Buckley, you guys know both of those gentlemen pretty well. They've been the most appearing guests, and also Patrick Ellis, who once was in Greenville, North Carolina, but now he's in Mississippi. So Patrick's not able to join us as much as he used to. But Patrick was on our show several times as well. We've had guests on from 42 of the 50 states. The only states that we've not had them on, I wrote them down. So if you know anybody in these states, contact them. Nevada, Montana, Wyoming, New Mexico, North and South Dakota, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So if you know anybody, any meteorologists in those areas, let us know. We need to get them on the show so we can finish out the 50 states. And we've covered anything from droughts to wildfires. I know I was up in McDowell County one night that James was doing some live coverage. Flash flood emergency. I know James remembers that night pretty well in McDowell County.
So tonight's all about interesting stories, right? So
yeah.
Talking about the flash flood emergency that transpired, this was shortly after my son was born. And so we were on the air like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was sound asleep, like at my feet. While we were on the air, we had the Marion camera up. We were talking about, you were at the Emergency Operations Center, but that's one of many little behind-the-scenes tidbits where he was thankfully quietly sleeping next to me during that. Otherwise, very serious and very scary moment, Scotty, that you reflected in our 2018 year in review.
James, that was the first time, we've seen flash flood emergencies for many locations. In fact, the folks in the Midlands of South Carolina all too familiar with that, with the 2015 storm that actually brought Shay onto the show.
How long has Shay been here?
Yes, Shay, you joined us after the Morecambe episode, right? I mean, we had you on as a guest, and then we liked you so much, we was like, hey, come back.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it was 2015 when that flooding event happened in October. And so I had started a little bit before that, came on as a guest from WeatherFlow, and I'm still with WeatherFlow, and talking about sea breeze activity and just our winds along the southeast region in general. So it's been a fun ride with all of you guys, and as we march on to 400, right?
Yeah, definitely. 400 is very attainable. But yeah,
well,
so
our friend Joey was along for many of those first shows, and he's watching tonight and commenting, how has it been long enough for 300 shows? All I will say is I think I wasn't on the first 200 shows, but I think when you guys started, I still had hair.
Yeah.
I think so. I think my hair looked like Evan. I mean, let's be real. My hair.
I've got luscious locks.
Yeah, but actually, you know who had really great hair? Scotty Powell.
I mean, everyone, it's
Look at
8:02.
this. I mean,
We're
no one
just
can
a little
beat
bit late, but that's okay.
the way you've got
Welcome
that
to the
styled
Carolinas
up there.
Weather Group. I am
Scotty.
meteorologist Scotty Powell
Joey's
here at
gonna
First
love
Weather.
this right now.
And
He
have we got
talking about my hair. That was a young Scotty Powell. Look at that, a little bit more slender than what I am now. That's what age does to you, I guess.
Oh, that might also be true. Somewhere around here, we've got another clip of.
We need to pull up Ricky Matthews.
Yeah, Ricky Matthews. Wait, let's pull Ricky back up. He's not on to defend himself tonight.
Well, good evening. We are live.
But I mean, he's got these like bangs that are just kind of cut right across the top of his forehead. I don't think that's his current haircut, so I think it's safe for me to. But that's Ricky there in 2014. So that's about the time you guys kick things off. So talk about those early days, Scotty. Talk about those early days.
Well, I remember the first show was about a potential ice event that was going to happen in the Carolinas, and we all got together. We all ran, and I know this is kind of a weird thing because we talk about how social media weather pages really get a lot of hits, even if they don't give out the best information. Well, we were a bunch of weather pages, but I feel like we were all responsible. And so we all got together. We all had this little weather community. James, you're familiar. You work at WCNC now. They have the Storm Spotter program, the first one Storm Spotter. So all of us was a part of that, and we got to chat. And we're like, how about we just kind of do a discussion? Kenneth Reese was up in the Boone and Watauga County area. Myself in Burke County. Joey was in Catawba County. Steve Monday in Rowan County. We had Ricky down at UNC Charlotte. Brad Panovich on, Daniel Crawley in McDowell County. So we all kind of got together. Kind of give our 2 cents worth of the upcoming winter weather event. And I think we had another one a couple weeks later. And so we really got a lot of folks at the time. It was all streamed on YouTube. We didn't have Facebook Live or Periscope, anything like that.
It just didn't exist.
Yeah, it didn't exist. And so many people were like, we really dig this. You're doing this more on a localized area. James, you can attest, living in the TV world, you guys have 3 minutes to cover 22 counties.
You also can't do this in the TV world.
Yeah, you
can't drink a hard cider.
But we were able to kind of localize it, and I think a lot of folks really jumped into it. It's like, well, let's start doing this more often. So I'd say probably the first 6 months it was just more talking about upcoming weather events, and then we kind of dove into bringing on guests onto the show. Brad Panovich, always been a friend of ours, and he was on the first show and really was.
We've booked him a lot lately too, and he's always very gracious with his time.
He was a big supporter of it,
and still is.
Yes.
One of the founding fathers of this little niche on the internet is James Spann, as I think many of you are aware. We've done 300. I think he's done a 1,000.
Yeah. Weather Brains has been going a long time.
That's right. Weather Brains has been going a very long time. You guys managed to book him in the early days.
Yep. 1 year into the show, we got James Spann. We're like, how did that happen? How did we get James Spann? And we've only been doing this a year.
How did that happen, Scotty?
Ricky Matthews has a great relationship with James, and I think Ricky actually went down to Birmingham and did some mentoring, some just behind-the-scenes stuff, and was able to secure James Spann, and I think we have a clip from his show here.
So, it's kind of a hybrid. You take part of the Weather Service products and you do your own stuff to make it personable. The Weather Service can't call out landmarks. A tornado is 14 miles southwest of Clanton. Nobody knows where that is. Even if you live in that county, you don't know where that is. But if you tell them it's at Jim's Pit Barbecue, everybody knows where that is if you live there. And sometimes you might call out a big landowner's property, a private barn. The Weather Service can't do that. I've got the freedom to do that, and I try and take advantage of that. Again, that's not – they just can't. It's just apples and oranges. There's some things the Weather Service can do that I can't, and vice versa. But we just all have to work together toward the same end result, which is being sure people know what's coming and be sure they're in a safe place.
I like Joey in the comments. We straight ripped him off, and we told him so. And you know what? I think what's that expression? Like flattery.
Yes. So what is it? Flattery is like the biggest compliment or something.
Right. Copying something is yeah. So we owe him a lot, and luckily, this space has really grown, and we've seen that with Podcast Awareness Month. But tell me a little bit more about that show, Scotty. So he's talking about the things that broadcast Mets can do that the Weather Service can't necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. So, everybody, if you're in the weather world, you're definitely attuned to the super outbreak of April 27, 2011. And so kind of leading into that conversation, we were talking about just how he goes about approaching severe weather days like April 27th. And James, and I think for all of us here on the panel who follow him, he's very personable. And so, he was talking about in a typical severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, they'll say a storm's located 14 miles southwest of given town. And a lot of folks don't know that. A lot of folks we have come to learn through our own severe weather coverage, they can't really point to where they are on a map. But James goes about it a little bit differently. He'll actually go into that community. He'll go hang out with the folks and kind of learn some landmarks, like Joe's Barbecue Shop, or we always talk about the Dollar General on the corner of the road near the post office. So James really gets in depth with these communities. So when he does go on TV and he's doing these severe weather break-ins and sometimes long day coverage of just back-to-back severe weather events, he's able to kind of personalize it so folks can kind of get a better idea of where these storms are located. And that was perfectly the example that happened on the April 27th tornado that went through Tuscaloosa. He was able to pinpoint, this is near the campus of University of Alabama. This is near the bookstore, and so on and so forth. So it's something that I try to, try to copy as I'm doing severe weather events, is try to make it personalized, because, if folks may not know, and I've lived in Morganton all my life, and if someone says it's down North Green Street, and I have to think, well, where is North Green Street? But if they say, well, it's near the post office, I'm like, yeah, I know where it's at. So I try to make it more personalized, and I honestly copied that from James, and I just think he does a great job doing that during severe weather coverage. And I think it's really helpful for the folks who are dependent on that information to stay safe.
Go ahead, Evan. I saw you were about to hop in there.
Oh, I've got a great thought on severe storm coverage, but it's not about span, so I'll let it simmer and marinate for a few minutes.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because we're talking about broadcast meteorologists. There've been many on this show covering severe weather, and you guys, Scotty, in the early days with Ricky Matthews and Joey and some of the other folks who have come in and gone with the show over the years, we're talking about the 2011 super outbreak, and I'm going to ask you to set up this clip that you submitted for tonight's show, because I thought it really kind of tugged at the heartstrings and kind of really drove home the point that everybody is a part of this community, as James Spann does so well at his station, that even the folks on TV can be affected by what's happening.
So I hope Joey's watching right now, and if
I think he is.
I think he can chime in on the comments, because he was in on this conversation. So what you're about to see is Mark Prater. Mark Prater was the chief meteorologist at the CBS station in Birmingham. We asked Mark to come on to talk about his perspective of April 27th. I will say this is probably the most emotional show that we've done throughout almost the 6 years that we've been doing this. Mark gets pretty personal with how that tornado and just that day in general really just changed how he sees storm coverage and how he's able to do severe weather outbreaks. And I see Joey just said this is good. Mark had a great interview, and what you're going to hear is the personal stories that when he went into this community after tornado, how it really affected him, and how it honestly probably could affect anyone who covers these major severe weather outbreaks.
The husband was running down the stairs behind his wife, and the suction was so bad from that tornado that it literally started to lift him up and try to pull him back out. And they were telling this whole story, and she said, well, my brother was on TV, and they're like, we were watching him. So I keep thinking maybe I need to write a book about it. But it's hard to really. Honestly, I don't watch the video of me doing the coverage. It's just it puts a pit in your stomach, and it's a tragic thing, and I hate to say that it affects me like that, because I was standing in a TV studio. But these are people that I know. These are people that I go see and talk to and trust me, and I know they're watching, and it's very difficult, and the recurring nightmare that I was having with this, it just got to the point where it was really affecting me, and I ended up going and getting a tattoo of the date just to see if that made a difference, which it did, ironically. And so in memoriam of those people, they all died on all of our watches, and I don't want to take any claim or credit for it, but it certainly did help me to feel like I've connected with those people in my heart, and I don't forget. That's the most important thing, is we not forget any of those people, because there were children, there were elderly, there were husbands, wives, daughters, kids, and I think it would be an injustice to forget those people who we lost that day.
Scotty, that's some pretty heavy, serious stuff he's talking about there.
Yeah, it is, and the tattoo that he's got now will be forever remembered, the folks who passed away. I've never experienced that. Living here in Western North Carolina, we don't really see these big, massive tornadoes and these big severe weather outbreaks. But it brings me to our next clip, and I'm sorry, mine all seem to revolve around tornadoes. But we had Damon Lane on. Damon Lane, a good friend of our show, and really appreciate his time. He was the new chief meteorologist in Oklahoma City when the May 20th Moore, Oklahoma tornado went through the area, and Damon lives in Moore. And in fact, what you're getting ready to see is the conversation that he was having with his wife as he was trying to conduct severe weather coverage live on TV.
I believe this was the year after you become the chief there at KOCO. And this one really had effects on you, because on May 20th, you're doing severe weather coverage, but you're also communicating with your wife, because this EF5 tornado is almost in your neighborhood.
May 20th, and look at the information, and the dry line is pretty much just a little bit farther west of Oklahoma City. I kissed my wife at the time. It was just my wife and I and our dogs. We didn't have a child at the time, and I kissed her goodbye, and I said, hey, might be a long day. So at about noon, I sent her a text message, and I said, hey, you probably want to go home early today. Storms, they're going to go up about 1, 2, 3 o'clock. You don't want to be on the roads when these storms are going up. Suddenly a storm's going up, and we're in our coverage, and I look down, and my wife had just sent me a text message, and she said, hey, what's going on? And at this point, the storm's already, hooking up, and I'm like, get home now. And so she's going home. I'm on air. This huge tornado is happening, and suddenly I get another text message from her, and she says, I'm trying to race home really fast. I can see the tornado behind me. And this tornado is coming right into our neighborhood. And I'm freaking out off camera, because I'm not knowing, whether or not, my wife is going to make it, or if my house is still going to be there. But I knew that I can't freak out on television. If the meteorologist is freaking out, how are you supposed to stay calm, Well, I didn't hear from her for a little while. And as a matter of fact, the very first time that I actually heard her voice was live on air. I gave my phone to my general manager, and I said, get my wife on the phone. And she went on air, and she's like, it looks like a war zone in our neighborhood. There's There's no way that you can ever prepare yourself for how to handle yourself on television when there's a natural disaster happening, whether it's an EF5 tornado or a hurricane.
Scotty, I'm so glad you submitted that clip, because that clip was on my mind as well, too. That show really stuck out. Not only is it a very serious event, it's very personal, and I think really pulls back that curtain. Because again, when you're watching severe weather coverage at home, you're not watching something, unless it's the Weather Channel doing national coverage, you're not watching something that's being piped in. You're watching street-level data from a meteorologist who's trying to save lives. These people are in your community, and the ones who, quite frankly, shine are the ones who really live and breathe those communities and put down roots, and I think that's exactly what Damon's talking about there.
Definitely so. And I mean, I being in front of the green screen, and we all, at the time we didn't know how serious this tornado was going to be, but now history tells us, this was a major tornado. But can you imagine, like, your loved ones, like you're trying to get this word out to the hundreds of thousands of people who are watching you, but you're also worried about your wife, his dogs, and your neighbors. I mean, he was talking about parts of the neighborhood had received a lot of damage. And so, your neighbor down the street, their house could have been totally destroyed. And so it's just a lot of emotion and just how you have to compose yourself doing this. And, it's just, I thought that was a great story from Damon and just kind of talking about that process. And it's something that none of us ever want to face, but, especially if you live out in Oklahoma, there's going to be times if you're doing severe weather coverage, it definitely could be affecting your neighborhood.
Reading more of your comments here at 9 o'clock as we carry on with the 300th anniversary special, or the 300th episode celebration of the Carolina Weather Group. Former panelist Joey, watching from here in North Carolina, saying losing somebody on your watch is absolutely the hardest thing about being in this community. And I think that is pretty well said. We had a couple other broadcast Mets who came on the program over the years. And Shay, you actually had a hand in bringing on one of the biggest stars in the weather community. We had Jim Cantore on, and he was talking about the 2017 hurricane season. Before we go to that clip, I think that's a show that stands out for us because, like the people at home, we are weather nerds, and we get, frankly, starstruck. I think that's safe to say. And that show is one I think that stands out in all our minds every time I say, okay, guys, what were your favorite episodes? Everyone lists 5, but almost everyone includes that Jim Cantore show, and I think it stands out for you as well, Shay.
No, it definitely does. I think one thing that we kind of find it with getting, having guests on the show is we realize working in the community, kind of side by side with a lot of these folks, that you're just really part of one big team. It's not about popularity so much as getting the word out. I mean, some folks have more exposure on TV. Others have hardly any exposure, and they're in the private community. But how we all blend together and work together is how we all get to know each other. And so, just working even with WeatherFlow through partnerships and making contact with these folks, it all helps. So a lot of them are very open to coming on the Carolina Weather Group because the footprint that we've made in the community and having quality guests on, quality shows, good information being shared out, it really helps the cause. And so folks want to come on, and I have Rob Fowler to thank, my friend here in Charleston. He really kind of said, hey, his time's limited. He does so much, and he's on broadcast most nights, but he said, you should check in with the Carolina Weather Group guys, man. They have a lot going on, and you might be a good fit with them. And I don't know what your schedule is, but so hats off to Rob for pointing me in this direction. So it's been an exciting adventure having all these really unique guests on. So yeah, I mean, Jim was definitely, he's going to be back with us next month, and we'll recap 2019 and go over some more events with him. But that was a good show because not only do we have, he was able to carve out some of his time to join us, but also give us some insight into his thoughts on some of the tropical patterns that were going on for that year.
Let's take a listen.
What does that tell you? We have very deep ocean heat content. So that's a little bit of an alarm that I think we need to look into. Why didn't we get upwelling? And so what Shay's leading to, guys, is the fact that when you get these storm tracks, especially with powerful hurricanes in their wind field, they're going to essentially pull up the cooler water from below. But the problem is there's so much hot water deep into the ocean. There wasn't, okay, fine. You went from 30 Celsius to 28 Celsius or 26 Celsius. That's still plenty warm enough to support, tropical development, especially given the fact that if you look at the main development region and the shear for really July, August, and September, and even into early October, there was no shear. So these things had free reign to just explode and go bonkers. But I think, ocean heat content and these warm ocean waters that we had this year set the tone. And then the fact that the shear essentially just stopped. Now you've got a chance to get a big monster. And unfortunately, we got 3 of them.
And there's another reason why that show stands out in my mind.
Is that the Starbucks show?
It is. It has to do with this guy off to my screen left. Because in order to get on this show, I had to drive from a business meeting in southern Jersey to Peter's personal Starbucks. And him and I sat together in the back of the Starbucks and did the show live together. Not only is it a huge guest, but Peter and I got to meet and do the... He didn't bring me a Cinnabon, though, guys.
I didn't. No, so I didn't. I know.
And speaking of Cinnabon, let me tell you all who are watching, Peter actually got Cinnabon. They actually like our social media accounts, like Cinnabon, PDQ. We have all these different restaurants that somehow this was a weather podcast, but also kind of a food podcast as well, Peter. I mean, you've got all these folks following us now.
I don't know how. I mean, but it's good advertising. So speaking of that, I do have a Cinnabon tonight. Well, both, I guess. To our millions of viewers that we have, right? Speaking of Cinnabon tonight, I already ate a little bit of it. It looks disgusting, but little Cinnabon tonight.
That's great advertising.
The show.
Hey, everybody, look at this. It looks disgusting.
Like eating it in between the clips.
Listen,
so,
he's doing that so people won't go get Cinnabon, so he can just go get more.
That's right. This cold, wintry weather.
I know what you're trying to do.
All right, guys. I think it's time that we take a message from our friends. We have met so many people doing this show over 300 episodes, over 6 years. We couldn't possibly play a message from each and every... How many guests did we have, Scotty?
While I was in the hospital, I was doing some calculating. I got at least 135, but I'm sure there's a few more that I just lost in looking back through things. But at least 135 different guests so far.
All right, well, here is a small snapshot of some of them who we are very grateful sent their best wishes and words of celebration for tonight.
300 episodes of the Carolina Weather Group, 300. And they said it wouldn't last. What do these people know? Hey, congratulations. That's a milestone. A lot of folks don't make it that long, but the show's great content, great discussion. So thanks for your work on the podcast for these 300 episodes. And let's go 300 more. What do you say? Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Ian Jamanko, meteorologist at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. Congratulations, Carolina Weather Group, on 300 shows. Outstanding job, and keep up the good work.
Hey, this is Jared Rennie. I'm a research meteorologist for the North Carolina Institute for Climate Studies. I work in a building that has 38 petabytes of data. That is a pretty amazing number, but you know what's a more amazing number? 300. Congratulations, Carolina Weather Group.
Hey, Carolina Weather Group, congratulations on your 300th episode. You guys are doing great work here in the Western Carolinas, and we appreciate everything you do. Keep it going, my friends.
300 episodes, what an honor it has been to be part of those. Just a few, of course, sharing good meteorological data and stories, and we all are certainly learning from one another. That's great. Well, check this out. You know how to put on a jacket? Look how cold it is outside.
300. Carolina Weather Group, you're old now. And isn't that good? We hope you keep on doing your thing each and every Wednesday night. Happy to be invited from time to time to talk about triad weather. And thanks for all that you do spreading weather awareness throughout the Carolinas. Keep it up, guys.
Hey everybody, I'm Ed Piotrowski. I'm the Chief Meteorologist at ABC 15 and Myrtle Beach, and congratulations to the Carolinas Weather Group on their 300th show. You guys provide such an awesome service to the Carolinas. We thank you very much, and we wish you another 300 great shows and many, many more. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks again for everything you do.
Hey, this is MJ, Mark Johnson, from the Stormfront Freaks podcast, wishing the Carolina Weather Group a happy 300th episode.
Hey, this is Dr. John Scala from WeatherBrains. Happy 300th show, Carolina Weather Group.
Hey, Carolina Weather Group. Happy 300th episode from this WeatherBrains to you. Congratulations, and here's to another 300.
This is Greg Carbon. I'm the Operations Branch Chief at the Weather Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service Centers for Environmental Prediction. Just want to congratulate the Carolina Weather Group for their wonderful shows, number 300.
Congratulations to the Carolina Weather Group for 300 shows from all of us here at the National Weather Service in Raleigh. Keep it up, guys. Thanks for all you do here in Central North Carolina and far.
Hi, Carolina Weather Group. This is Lauren Carroll. I'm a meteorologist at the National Weather Service at Greenville-Spartanburg. All of us here at the office would like to wish you congratulations on your 300th episode. We've loved discussing everything from weather safety to weather balloons with you, and we wish you guys many more successful episodes.
Hey, congratulations, Carolina Weather Group, on your 300 episode? That's crazy to think. I remember episode number 3. I didn't think you'd make it past number 3. But you made it to 300. Here's the 300 more. And I love that you guys are sharing your passion with weather and climate with everyone in the Carolinas. Keep it going.
I don't know who said it wasn't going to last after episode 3. I mean, we clearly had at least 5 good shows on there, right? I mean, thanks to all of our friends across the enterprise who took the time out to send us a video. We really do appreciate it, and happy to have them on tonight as we are celebrating the 300th episode, which, by the way, I did a little research on this, guys. That puts us in the ranks of, like, Law and Order and a bunch of other shows that Gunsmoke. 300 is a pretty major milestone in the production world. I mean, we're only short of like the daily soap operas and the Tonight Show, which have, you know, thousands of episodes. So again, we appreciate everyone who took the time to send a video. We really do appreciate it, and we are just about halfway through tonight's celebration of our 300th episode here at the Carolina Weather Group. We started off the year pretty strong, I think, guys. We had new graphics roll out, and we've worked on bringing on a whole boatload of new guests. Shay, tell me why the Waffle House Index with Pat Warner stands out in your head, besides the fact that we've already talked about we like food.
You know, we love Pat Warner here, right? I mean, we love everything they do, not just about the Waffle House restaurant, but about what they do in the local communities that they've undergone hurricane hits. You know, there's damages, power's out, and, you know, there's just a lot of people in need. What they do is they kind of rush in, they get a store open, they get generators going, they start cooking food, they supply food to emergency management helpers, anyone that needs it, really, and they just pump it out. I mean, they work their tails off during these storms, these post-storm events to keep things moving along and give kind of hope. And so it's even been addressed by the President of the United States. You know, I think at one point Obama was, you know, he addressed it. What are they doing? What's the Waffle House doing? So, I mean, they have a lot of exposure to that. And not to mention, they do have a team that monitors weather, and they send the word out. Like, they really have kind of like their own little meteorology team that they try to figure out the best time to get in, to do things and move their get the logistics around, find out what kind of accesses they can have to get into these areas to open these stores. So they worked pretty hard to do it. I was really impressed. Glad that he came on to give more insight in that.
I'm glad you sent this clip along, because it's my absolute favorite.
Yeah, other companies are more sophisticated than we are. I send them an Excel spreadsheet twice a day, and they have to incorporate it in, and they create a map that has all the private sectors on there. There's others that are more tech savvy than we are, but we still do the old-fashioned Excel spreadsheet and share that with them. And it's funny, there. In the last, the current administration and the past administration, we didn't get that spreadsheet in on time, and it was funny because we got a call saying that both President Obama and President Trump are waiting to see the status of the Waffle House restaurants, which that blew our minds because we're thinking, they should be focused on more important things. But we can just say them, yes, President Trump, they're serving bacon, we're good. But so we're updating in real time in that National Business Emergency Operations Center, but we send them twice a day, open close update, which ones are on generator. We actually get in more detail because they want to know which ones are on generator, which ones are on boil water, things like that. So it's a pretty big spreadsheet.
Yeah. So guys, that was my first episode with the Carolina Weather Group, and I was absolutely mortified. In case you haven't picked up on it, I'm not I'm not a broadcast student. I prefer the operational behind the scenes kind of stuff. So the idea of coming on a show that I didn't know anyone and talking with a very, very important executive, both in the Waffle House world and also kind of in the weather world, it really shook me to my core. So
Evan,
I would go ahead.
Evan, I was gonna say that's how we do it around. We just throw you to the wolves. I mean, man, you sink or swim, buddy. Sink or swim.
I got a text from Scotty last December, it's almost a year ago now, asking if I would come on to be a test panelist, I guess you could say. And I was super excited, and it took maybe 24 hours for me to realize what all that was going to entail and how I would actually have to talk fluently. And I know I'm glad I finally recovered from that, and I feel like I'm doing a little bit better than when we first started out here. I'm still the new guy. I guess Tim is the newer guy now, but it's been a blast.
No, Evan, you've been great. I mean, it was really nice because College of Charleston started their meteorology degrees, 3 years ago? And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you're one of the first of the generation. I think Trevor Gibbs was the first graduate, and so you're in the second class coming up, or is it second or third class coming up, graduating class?
Yeah, I believe it's the third. And actually,
Third graduating class.
Trevor was just texting me congratulating us on 300. So it is nice to have that. And we're the only meteorology department in the state of South Carolina. So we can use, all the publicity as well as collaboration that we can get.
I think it's great. I love that we have that connection to the college and the brand new degrees and everything. So yeah, you're doing great.
Plus, Evan was the creator of the Carolina Weather Group on Instagram. So if you don't follow our Carolina Weather Group on Instagram, go do that. And he also puts together these really cool time lapse of the snows up in the North Carolina mountains. So all that content that you see on our Instagram page, you see the time lapse, that's all Evan. He loves putting that stuff together, and he's just been a great asset, as everyone is on this team. He's really brought it. And Peter, you were the youngest one, so we had to switch that off and let Evan be the youngest one now.
That's right.
Evan's first show came with goodies because Pat sent a thank you box after the show.
Yeah.
And
where's that hat? I'm gonna go put that hat on real quick.
Okay, go right ahead. There's no rules. You could just take your laptop and walk. Oh, he's going to turn the camera off. He doesn't want us to see.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Go
if
ahead.
You're giving me permission.
I mean,
So this
am I
kind
going
of
to regret
reminds me
this?
this reminds me of the Bob Jazz show.
Oh, yeah, the
James,
tour.
where he took us a tour of the weather station.
Y'all can see my Christmas tree.
Aw.
It is, Merry Christmas. But here we go. Here's the hat. We would like to thank Waffle House, Pat Warner. Okay, if I can get it off the hook.
You found it a lot faster than I thought you were going to. There it
I
is.
know, I'm sorry. But we wore these things all of our Chasecation, and they're amazing, and we've got shirts as well. So huge thanks to Pat and everyone over there at Waffle House for providing us with these.
Perfect segue. Evan was a big part of our first Chasecation this year. You guys went to the Central Plains and did exactly what the name sounds like. What was that, Scotty?
I broke my ankle while I was out there.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not laughing at you, I promise.
We have 0 workers' comp.
That's right. Evan looked over. He saw me land on the ground. He's like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think so.
It was in the flattest terrain possible, easily the least stressful situation of the trip. Scotty's on the ground.
we were looking at little prairie dogs, and just decided to fall down and break my ankle. So.
But you came back with good video.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was a blast. Experiencing that, Evan. If I had to break an ankle, that was fun because it was an absolute blast. Something I've never been able to do. I've always wanted to do. And
break your ankle?
Not break my ankle. I've done that before. I didn't. This is the second time. It's not as fun as the first time. You kind of don't get as much sympathy when you tell me I just fell out and flat surface. So, but we saw some amazing tornadoes and got some amazing videos. So it was worth it.
Absolutely. I think 13 tornadoes in total.
Yeah, I mean,
5,000 miles.
We were on the ground for 20 minutes, and we're already seeing tornado warnings issued. So.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Should we roll the clip?
We should.
Yeah, other companies are more sophisticated than we are.
I mean,
send
that
them
was a
Excel
good clip of Pat Warner, but I should probably roll the correct clip. Let's try it again. Super suspenseful, guys. Those are some of the best videos I've ever seen. I have no idea why it's not playing.
That's okay.
Oh,
Listen.
wait. I think I found it. Here we go.
Oh.
Third time's a charm. It's only taken us 300 episodes.
So you can hear the tornado sirens are going off here in Sterling, Colorado. It's the first time I've ever experienced tornado sirens. Here's the tornado warning cell right here.
Hey, right there, ground circulation across the field. Right there, look. It's so small.
Yep. There's your tornado right there. And then actually roped out to this little tiny pencil. It was a crazy storm, and then we watched that storm continue to track, and we've got just the preliminary data from the National Weather Service in Wichita, Kansas. It was an EF2. But we are here in just outside of Breckenridge, Colorado. And Evan, we've been chasing tornadoes, hail, flood. Now it's snowing and grappling. As you can see, it is really coming down, and it's...
So yeah, you guys did absolutely come back with some great footage there. Next time, try not to break your ankle, though.
Yeah, I would do it all over, even if it required me breaking an ankle. I would still do it all over again. Evan, we got to see so much of the country that we don't. We were 20 miles from the Mexico border, chasing storms in South Texas, out of all places. I know you had a migraine headache that day, so it wasn't the best day for you. But
that was horrible. But I came around and we saw some cool stuff. And truthfully, I think my favorite part of the trip was just getting to drive. The tornadoes were amazing and the weather was amazing, but seeing that much of the country, something like 12 states, was just unreal. I've never been out there before, except for the mountains of Colorado. So it was unique.
I'll
tell me how was your diet the whole time?
Oh gosh, it was horrible. I mean, strictly gas station food.
Gas station food. It was like when we got to Oklahoma City, I think it was on a Friday. We went to was it Texas Roadhouse or something, and Evan's a small guy. If you've never met Evan before, he's a small guy, and he orders this 20-ounce steak, and he just devour. I mean, it's going. It's all of it is going. And then he's like, oh, I feel terrible.
I felt terrible, but it was a 22-ounce steak, a large fry, a large mac and cheese, and a loaded potato, all in one sitting, and it was worth it.
It out. He did. But Evan, another from that trip, and we can move on. Non-weather related thing is, it was our second day, and we stayed in some small town in Kansas. This was before our big tornado day. And it was really cold outside. That morning the hotel had the fireplace going, and we walked outside, and it was already a breezy day because of the jet stream really cranking up to drive the severe weather. And we walked out, and I guess we were beside a cow farm, and it's just this smell of cow manure, and it's we complained about it, and this lady's like, yeah, this is what we smell every morning. And I was like, God bless you all for that, because it was terrible.
One last thing on that topic is, and I see Peter's kind of mentioning it, I'm not going to go into that much detail, but the hotels some were excellent and some were rather disturbing. We had blood on the walls in one of them. So it was quite the experience.
It was. The hotel we stayed in, I think it was Tulsa. No, Wichita. Mm-hmm. It was the heat just was cranking in there. We couldn't get. It was 80 degrees in there at night. It was good Lord, it was terrible. But yeah, we had some good experiences and some not so good experiences. But that's what happens on Chasecation.
I'm watching our internal chat, and you guys are being very nice to those hotels, because it sounds like you could be saying much more.
We want sponsorships. If Marriott wants to roll out some sponsorship, we'll definitely take it.
Aloft. That was the one.
That's right.
Really?
That's the best one.
I haven't had a problem with that one.
No, it was good. It was good.
No,
that was a good one.
It was by far the best one we had all
That
trip.
makes so much more sense. Well, your Chasecation is a great example of weather caught on camera. That's one of the things we like to do here at the Carolina Weather Group as well, too. Our friends
You want to show us that cool footage that you guys stumbled upon on yesterday?
Yeah, we just mentioned a moment ago the possibility for microbursts in the forecast for Thursday. Check out this video from Tuesday in Raleigh, captured by the WeatherStem camera atop the North Carolina State University's Carter Finley Stadium. You can see the microburst. That's the thunderstorm there collapsing, and those winds coming rushing out of the storm like a center column that then hits the ground and fans out. The National Weather Service tells us 2 to 3 trees in Oak Park community were downed because of this storm, and so it's a great visualization to what we are so often trying to tell you, is that a microburst, like you're seeing here on the screen from this WeatherStem camera, can cause trees to come down or potentially cause even other damage. Sometimes that damage gets confused for a tornado. It can be so severe, and this camera guys just happened to be in the right place at the right time recording as we witness this wet microburst in Wake County. It tore down buildings and trees and left a path of destruction 400 yards wide. This one in particular sticks out in our minds because we were live on the air as this tornado crossed Interstate 26. We believe we've captured the rain-wrapped tornado crossing the interstate. You won't see the actual tornado itself because, like all of the storms across the region that day, they were rain-wrapped, meaning there was a wall of rain around the actual tornado. But nonetheless, you can see the heavy winds, the heavy rain, and the impact it made as it crossed this very busy section of road. Take a look.
This has got to be 60-mile-per-hour winds moving through.
Yeah, I believe that. This is moving through very quickly. And again, this tornado, if there's a tornado in here, it's going to be rain-wrapped. And it's going. It looks like if there's a circulation, it's crossing I-26 right now.
I've got the radar. Can we double box this? I got the velocities up right now on radar in Orangeburg. Let me get that screen share for you all. This is the velocities. Right here is Interstate 26. So right here is what we are watching. I would assume right in this area is the video that you see the rain really moving in, as well as the circulation rotation being shown here on highway or Interstate 26 in Orangeburg, Jared.
So again, one of the examples of weather caught on camera here at the Carolina Weather Group. That was a day where so much of our team was on the air with you covering it, and I know a lot of our team members want to reflect on that as well too.
Yeah, I think, Scott, it wasn't that the day that you had to take cover during live storm coverage because of a tornado?
Yeah, Evan. In fact, I think it was a 3-day span. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it started that Friday afternoon. We had a few tornado warnings, which one was at my house. And then that Saturday, with what you guys just saw, that was the major day. We had another tornado warning here. So I've lived here, Morganton all my life, and I can remember, a handful of tornado warnings, but I've never had any, back-to-back days. So that was crazy. And, I've never really had to take shelter because if the tornado warning was issued, it was normally off to my east, but this was the first time that the warning actually included my house. So I think we've got some video of me heading to shelter while covering the tornado warnings. We're going to go seek shelter, and I'll be back momentarily.
Scotty Powell, thank you very much. Best to you guys. We'll check in with you after the storm. We will continue to monitor what is this live shot inside Scotty's residence there in Morganton, as he has now moved he and his family to a safe location.
Hey, James, I'm here in my safe place. The potential tornado may track just south of my location, so I'm going to watch it on radar for the next little bit, and I may come back up into my office and join you guys. But again, I just wanted to check in here from the safe place. This is where I seek shelter. This is an interior bathroom and closet in my basement.
So, Scotty, in all your years of doing this, second time you had to do that back-to-back?
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever had to do it back-to-back. I remember one other time. It was actually the April 27, 2011 tornado outbreak that we had a tornado warning through here. But that was the first time back-to-back, and only the third time that I remember, of being in shelter for a tornado warning. So can I admit it that I did what every Southerner does before? Like, I did go down to shelter. You actually seen the video, but I did peek outside first to see if I could see anything.
Away from the windows, man.
I know, but hey, I'm being truthful. Just go downstairs. Don't worry about it.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had the video of my chair here, so if you'd have seen it flying away, you'd have known something crazy was going on.
I submitted a clip for tonight's show. This stuck out in my mind. Hurricane Florence, obviously a big event, but we had Mark Sedeth on. He's a good friend of our show, always shows up with amazing visuals of Mother Nature, and he did not disappoint when he debuted footage here on the Carolina Weather Group of the force of Hurricane Florence along the coast. Take a look.
Set it up Thursday afternoon early, and this is Surf City, North Carolina. This is the first time anybody has seen this video, actually. We were not able to retrieve it and get it out to the world in time, and then Michael happened. So here it is, debuting live. That is storm surge coming over the dune there in Surf City. The GoPro did fantastic. It recorded just as it should have, high definition and 720p. Now we can do it at 1080. It's even better. And that surge takes out the dunes, the waves do, one at a time, one wave at a time, until finally the dunes are gone. Just an amazing perspective stuck there on that utility pole. There's hardly any vibration or anything. And to document without having to be there, there's no way any storm chaser can film something like this. And it's not an indictment against us. We're all included. Who's going to do that? You can't. It's not possible. This is how you do it.
So Mark Sedeth joining us. I don't know if we mentioned this in the show. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But that was actually the first time anyone had ever seen that GoPro footage of the storm surge affecting the coast. So kind of some groundbreaking video. If you don't follow Mark, we encourage you to do it. He's a great follow on Twitter, very tropical oriented. And he's also got a few documentaries out on Amazon Prime. So just type in Mark Sedeth, Into the Storm, I think, or something related to that title. And you can kind of see his documentary from last year with Hurricane Michael, which is spectacular. We had Mark on the show a few months ago, but a great follow there. And we were really happy to have groundbreaking video that no one had seen before being aired on our show. And Shay, with that, tropics, living at the coastline, we see the storm surge, but we also have been talking, especially with you and Jared living in Charleston and Evan, just the flooding that we see in Charleston all the time. And it doesn't have to be raining. Sometimes you have sunny day flooding. And I know you had a good friend of yours come on the show and kind of talk about that.
Yeah, that's right. So, sea level rise is something that's been sort of an issue for several years now. It's been getting, we're seeing more flooding events, more inundation, saltwater, where your normal tide table, it's rarely ever correct anymore. I mean, we're just seeing higher tides. And then you add a little bit of wind to it, the right conditions, and then you get flooding. And so anything, when you get up to like the 7.5 foot range for the Charleston area, it's different. The tide's a little higher as you go down the coast towards Georgia. And I think Jekyll Island's like the highest point. But for our area and all up and down the southeast region, up and down the East Coast for that matter, we're all being subjected to routine flooding over and over again. It's becoming, there's more and more events this year. I think we're up to like 93 flooding events, and that's anything over 7.0 feet. So we had Doug Marcy come on a couple of years back to discuss sea level rise and some of the findings at that time. And that was before the 2018 report came out, that he talked about how the, carbon dioxide being trapped in the atmosphere, I think like 4,000 parts per million is contributing to some heating of the on the global scale. And so that has a lot to do with some of the sea level rise in our area. But, we talked about mycoast.org and this multi-state initiative to develop, the kind of things like how to build along the coast, how to manage that, how to mitigate risks. And, basically he spoke to that. So it was a very good resource to have come on the show. It's always an honor to have someone from NOAA with his expertise to come on to talk about sea level rise. He's pretty much the main go-to guy for coastal services here in Charleston.
Again, my colleagues at Billy Sweet has done some great work on this. You look at these top 10 U.S. cities, Charleston's one of them. You guys live in some of these cities. 400% increase we've seen since the 50s. Philadelphia, Baltimore, 900% increase. So this is real. This is happening, in our lifetime kind of stuff. So, and if you look out, like these tipping points, when are we going to start to see more than 30 days a year? By when? Like under what scenario you can start to say by the 2020s? Unless we start to put some serious money into the infrastructure improvement, we're going to start to not be able to use some of these areas.
So Shay, obviously an important show. You living along the coast. We had Peter and his classmates on talking about coast and climate not too long ago. So, even Peter, you're in New Jersey, despite our name. We bring you on because we want that perspective. We want your insight, but also we have so many transplants from the Northeast. But really, the things we talk about here in the Carolina are not necessarily exclusive to the Carolina, and that's what your group is also looking at.
That's right. We started a climate group, if you watched the show a couple weeks ago, all about Atlantic City and the Jersey Shore, how climate change and just different weather events are affecting those areas. And even up here, you guys are mentioning down in Charleston and stuff, but even up here, we're dealing with some flooding events, even with just high tide and stuff. It's really affecting people down there as far as damaging their homes, and they have to make their houses higher up off the ground. And it's just a whole big mess down there. And really, it takes a lot of money, and the government doesn't want to help. So they're really dealing with a lot of stuff. And, any big storm we get, snowstorms, hurricanes, whatever, they really deal with a lot of nasty stuff down there between damage, and it's bad.
Well, we appreciate that perspective because it really is a much bigger problem that we're all going to be facing together. Let me see here as I take a look, as we're coming up to just shy of 1 hour into our 300th episode special here on the Carolina Weather Group. Appreciate all of those of you joining us. Rising Storm says, congratulations, great job. Appreciate you watching us on our YouTube channel. And Cole Cannon says, congratulations from Greenwood. We appreciate that. Another clip I had pulled, this one goes back a little while. This is one of the earlier shows I did with you guys when I joined. I was initially a guest and then came on to join you guys each week. We had Dave Malkoff, and I still think maybe second to Ian in Chester, who gets to drop hail on houses in a controlled laboratory. He might have the best job in the Carolinas, but Dave Malkoff either has the second job or the best job nationwide in the weather industry, because he gets to report on all of these cool stories for the Weather Channel about science and technology and the weather, and it's just okay, I admit it, I kind of want Dave Malkoff's job, if that's okay with everybody. And I think that's probably evident in this clip.
Do a lot of reporting on science and technology, and it seems like if you were to be born at any point in history, this is probably the point for you to be born. I mean, this is such a tech age we're in. I'm looking around your office behind you. You've got so much stuff there.
Oh yeah,
walkie-talkies.
Yeah. Some of this stuff. That's funny. Yeah, some of this stuff is just kind of an archive, and I could show you some of these things. Hold on one second. I got to pull my earphones out. But this thing over here. This is how geeky I actually am. This is from the 80s, and it is actually a video switcher. This thing is from Radio Shack, and you were able to actually plug video and audio through RCA cables into it, and you could do video effects from one VHS VCR to another one. And this is how I got started doing video production. Was this piece of equipment? It's fantastic. It was called an Archer Special Effects Switcher, model number 15-1274, that you could get from, and I don't think it has a date on it. You could probably look it up on eBay. But yeah, there's all sorts of archive material in here, and to think that, I was doing everything on VHS back in my early days, and then now you can you can have stacks and stacks of VHS tapes. And I used to have those, and I used to travel around with these boxes. I had more boxes of VHS tapes than I actually had clothes. And now it can go on a little hard drive like that. All of your VHS tapes like that. It's amazing. And sometimes I pull that kind of stuff. What do you got there?
I was going to say I was going to help you drive your point home. Here's an HDMI splitter.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
does the same thing. You could punch between multiple sources and look.
It's incredible. And that thing costs you $25.
James, I think you have found a new best friend here. This is pretty cool.
I know. Dave's going to come on every week, and we're just going to talk tech. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, we could.
And I have a new toy. This was more than that $25 splitter I showed. But guys, I'm going to start controlling the show with this little guy, and I could just sit here punching buttons. I mean, tech is my friend. That's all I can say.
Well, we appreciate all of it, James. I mean, you guys, I tell you, from a technical standpoint in production, we get a lot of like, how are you doing this and what are you doing?
Magic.
I've seen the transition. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen the transition from Google Hangouts, which ended. We were facing that for some time. They kept saying it was going to be this date and then that date, and trying to come up with strategy. And you really tapping into OBS software and really developing this show and getting roll out the new graphics, roll out the new format. It's just been really kind of amazing. I mean, before it was just a little get-together show, then it became a little bit more. It became more of a production, more of live streaming, things that are going on. There's a lot of popular streams that we do, like with NASA and rocket launches, even just watching meteors, right? I mean, one of our heavy-hitting shows was just a black screen from, aired from NASA with music. And
you like the music the best.
Oh, man, it was great. The music was good. But I mean, we had people chiming in all the way over to Hawaii that were watching that night. So, it was from coast to coast. It was great. And, hats off to you. Hats off. I want to bring Jared Smith into this show tonight and mention him. Mm-hmm. He came on with us a couple of years back. He has helped with the production, helped you out on the IT side. He's a really guru at this stuff. So from a production standpoint, there's a lot of technical aspects here that you guys work in the background that folks don't know about. And like, some of us, I don't even know everything what you do. But I'll tell you what, I'm appreciative of that. I know for the other panelists here, we love what you do, James.
I want to piggyback off what Shade's talked about, because James won't do this to himself. Neither will Jared or Tim. But Tim is responsible for producing the podcast and getting it out to all of the outlets. And we're really appreciative of that. Tim also helps arrange what you guys don't see behind the scenes. We actually have a rundown. And so as we're talking about subjects, Tim will kind of take those subjects out and keep us on tap with our rundown. Jared and James really mastered this live streaming product that we produce. It used to just be a YouTube, Google Hangout, and that was about it. But once James and Jared really got into it, it really turned into a production. We've got they even taught me, and if you know me really well, I'm not really that technological savvy, but James was able to teach me the ins and outs of OBS, so I'm able to at least pop up some webcams if it's snowing in the mountains or if there's a beautiful sunset going on. So just very appreciative. I know James and Jared and Tim have spent long hours making this product what it is. And he won't say it, but I'll tell you, we've had folks like Gary England contact us and say, hey, how do you do this? And so, that's a testament to what all they do. And this show wouldn't be anything without James and Jared and Tim. And so much appreciation to those guys. And thank you guys for making it all look good, because it has really, as Peter and Shay and myself, kind of the longer tenured folks before James and Jared got on. And like Shay said, it was just kind of just a little hangout, and that was it. But we've really got our game stepped up once these gentlemen got involved and really made it what it is today. So thanks to you guys.
Also to Peter, don't forget, Peter develops the graphic for. Yep. Folks send us their bios, and then they also send us the picture. Well, somebody's going to put the graphic at the picture so that we can get that out and kind of put it out there on everyone's radar to kind of tune in and have a nice picture.
He's also a really good video editor, I might add. Yeah. Some of those Chasecation specials came straight from the field into Peter's inbox.
Yeah, Peter, you've done a great job. Even though you won't share your Cinnabon with us,
what's up with that?
Sorry.
Well,
but I know we got one more thing we want to talk about the community, but Shay was talking about this, just the difficulties. We were talking about James Spann, we're a year into it and just kind of a little weather group, and it's really, really cool to see how many folks we can reach out to in the weather community, and they'll come on our show with no questions asked. So that is a great thing. We've joined the Weather Podcast Awareness Month. That's really helped out. I'm really appreciative of all the other weather podcasts. And it's just, sometimes it was difficult to find guests and have. It's still difficult. 300 shows in, you're like,
Scotty, if it's difficult, man, you don't let that show, because you are the master at booking guests. I mean, everyone plays a team role in trying to bring people on that they know or want to reach out to, but I mean, you are the master of that schedule.
Well, it's just we have a great relationship. Shay was talking about earlier, and doing this has been a dream, because not all of us are on TV. Like Evan was talking about, he wants to be more operational, but through this, we're able to collaborate with so many folks in the weather industry, and it's really brought us together. And sometimes you're like, how can we talk about hurricanes that we've not already talked about? So it's kind of hard, trying to make these shows a little bit different so you guys don't get bored. But it's great, and we appreciate all of our guests who come on. So another thing that we're able to do, and something that's fun, James, is being out in the community. And not only being out in the Carolinas, but also helping communities affected by natural disasters.
Yeah, you actually saw it earlier in our clip with Damon Lane as we were talking to him about his experience. That was in the immediate aftermath of Florence, and you'll remember we were on the air a lot for Florence, and then continuing to scroll to the bottom of our screen, we were asking for American Red Cross donations and the like, and you hopefully have seen similar examples of that either from us or other organizations that not only are storytelling and relaying important life-saving information, but then staying with the community afterwards and trying to clean up. And we actually had an opportunity. This was earlier this year, right? It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Where we had already booked a show weeks to months in advance to talk with some storm chasers. We had no idea at the time they were going to be at the center of this tornado outbreak that played out across the southeast. You may recall it was hit. One of the areas hit hardest was in Lee County, Alabama, just outside of Columbus, Georgia. So we brought them onto their show. They were telling us about their chase and their footage, their video, and the people they met. But we also were able to reach out to the local community. We actually were on that night on cable television in the area as they were continuing to deal with the aftermath of this. We were able to push to community fundraisers and events that were taking place. WRBL Television was kind enough to share some of their content with us, and even our friend Chief Meteorologist Bob Jazz shared a few minutes of his time with us as well that night. This past weekend, 23 people lost their lives to tornadoes. The storm system prompted 97 tornado warnings across 4 states. Seen here, divided up by local National Weather Service offices. The hardest hit areas were undoubtedly along the borders of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. 97 tornado warnings is 97 times that countless communities sent themselves and their families to safe places. 34 of those tornadoes turned out to be the real thing.
Badly injured and trapped by large trees and other debris, Jalen began digging out, helping his family and strangers, while his mother carried his injured brother and his auntie carried her injured daughter.
I picked him up like a fireman carry over some trees and stuff, and that's when the guy he jumped out the truck with a chainsaw, and he just started plowing through trees to make a path for my cousin and me to bring the babies to him.
And again, information on your screen how you can donate financially in the greater Columbus area. And joining us now from Columbus, Georgia is WRBL TV's Chief Meteorologist Bob Jazz. Bob, we just watched the piece from your colleague Elizabeth White. That is one of the most heartbreaking and touching pieces of television I've seen in a long time. How is the community doing?
The community, surprisingly, is doing as well as anyone can imagine. It's amazing how everyone has come together as one. I mean, it's like everybody's family right now.
And we revisit those moments. They're not easy, but we wish we didn't have to do it at all. But we are happy to be able to advocate for those who are in need at those times, and we again thank those local partners. Even an event that its epicenter was not here in the Carolinas, the outpouring we saw from here in the Carolinas and beyond was absolutely heartwarming, and that's a testament to all of you at home who watch and listen, and so we thank you as well.
I agree. That was just somber time, and I think we had a few guests on later, Stephen Schroeder being one of them, kind of talking about why that specific area really was hit hard, and we continue to think of those folks who are still recovering from that event that happened earlier this year.
Community events here locally don't always have to be sad and somber, and we've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of you in different locations. It's one of the things we like best about this show is we're all spread out and we can be in your neck of the woods. We were in Gastonia. I can't believe this was actually the last summer. I thought it was this summer when I went to pull the clip. And we met a lot of you at the Weatherproof event. And there are so many clips that we could show from that day, but one in particular was with WBTV Television, as they were taking us behind the scenes of how they do some of their weather coverage with their Storm 3 Storm Tracker vehicle. Let's take a look.
Yeah, we're out here in front of WBTV's First Alert Storm 3.
Yeah, so you want to take us, show us what you guys do with Storm 3?
Yeah, this was something that we brought online about a year and a half, 2 years ago in a partnership with Scott Clark Toyota. It is a beautiful four-wheel drive, but we have set it up with incredible live capabilities to be out on the roadways and some interfaces with the weather equipment that we use back at the studio at WBTV. So we've got a complete setup here with a number of cameras on this truck. And this was put together by our engineering department. And then we've got what's called a live view unit. And this takes like 5 cellular cards and combines the signal that lets us get an HD signal right back to the station and go live without having to park or set up and put a mast up into the air. And then if you move around here to the front, you'll notice that we've got HD cameras mounted on the roof. I'll step out of here just a little bit. You can see that it's a 360 degree pan tilt camera that can be operated remotely from inside the vehicle to give us an HD camera view. We've got a lipstick HD camera mounted here on the dashboard with a light, so when we're in here live, it actually has a light on you to get a good picture. And then there's the forward facing dash cam HD camera, and all of those can be controlled remotely by this StormCam switcher. So the meteorologist or reporter can actually be out driving live, chasing a storm or going to a snow event or something like that, and switch back and forth from the camera on them to the camera in the dashboard or to the HD camera up on the roof.
Nothing like giving a standby cue to the entire audience at home. But what is a 300th celebration if you don't get to hear at least some of my directing producing cues? We are also going to budget one of those for 2020. Maybe a fleet of about 6. We'll all take one. And we're really looking forward to it. We're looking for a sponsor. I think nothing screams storm danger like the Cinnabon Storm Chase Waffle House vehicle. So I'm just, just planting that seed now.
Fueled by PDQ chicken.
But I think with that clip, we have come full circle. We started off tonight's broadcast talking about the many friends we've met along the way. We've come back out now talking about the role that weather broadcasting on TV and online play in the community. And most importantly, we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you at home. And so we do really much appreciate you not only entrusting us with weather information, but joining in our celebration, joining in our discussions each and every week, because having you watch makes it all worth it. As we, believe it or not, draw upon the 10 o'clock hour, Shay Gibson looks like he's about to fall asleep, which I don't blame him.
Oh, no, I'm not falling asleep. I was actually looking for any messages that came through on the live feed of my phone. So.
Oh, working hard, guys. He's texting in class. No, I want to give our panel a chance to share some of their thoughts tonight. And Shay, why don't we start with you? And I think you mentioned it earlier, and I'll just mention it again. But You came on because of a referral from a colleague and a friend, and then you referred Jared Smith. So thank you for bringing him on.
Very welcome. Yeah. And then Jared he's great. He does Charleston weather here, and he's a very well-known individual. He's won the city paper he's been nominated and won awards for being the best Twitter account, I think, for it. I mean, he's developed bots to be able to do a lot of these auto feed things in Twitter, which is really unique. So really good guy there. And then through that meeting with there's College of Charleston, we got Evan on. So a couple of recruits there, but overall, I mean, I really just love the direction the show's going. If I had to wrap up everything, I'd say let's continue on and keep the shows coming. We have a lot of guests that would love to come on, and a lot of folks that we've had on that we should get back on. There's a lot of, I could just go on name names.
We're taking ideas.
Yeah.
If anyone's got a question, comment, concern, somebody they want to talk to.
Sure. I mean, as we dive in, we even do shows outside of weather. I mean, we've had earthquake, we've had seismologists come on. We had Stephen Jamais from College of Charleston come on with us. We talk about meteor tsunamis. We talk about all kinds of interesting things that apply to, our environment and our weather, not just weather all the time. So we try to mix it up a little bit here and there. And it's just really unique, getting back to the whole idea of being part of a big team where we're all scientists trying to just, not solve the puzzle, but just get a good grasp of what's going on, snapshots in time, and even looking at the long term. And that's what we're all here to do, is to understand our science better and understand what's occurring now and into the future. Everyone's really good at corroborating about information. We all see that on Twitter. That's where most of the activity goes on. But now we're seeing these other little platforms like Snapchat, and we joke about it. Very real, and we have to look at how we're going to do our social media and apply certain things in the future as well. I mean, even streaming media is starting to replace mainstream channels. The syndicated channels are starting to stream now, so we're seeing a lot of the same themes go on. So we're adapting with that as well. I think we're a little ahead of the curve on some of that, just because we've been doing it for a little bit longer. But as we dive in further and get more guests on, and their audience tunes into us, and we just sort of share everything out, things will just get more, and they'll just get better and better for us in the long run. So, yeah, hats off to the team, guys. Thanks for everything.
Well, speaking of getting better and better, I didn't get a chance to respond before, and you guys had some nice words to share, but it's content. Content is king, and that's what you guys as a team bring to the table. Everything else is just button pushing. So, I appreciate everyone's perspective. We'll go around the horn as Peter is now yawning, drawing upon his bedtime. Peter, I'm going to put you on the spot, and in case the others haven't figured it out, I'm going to make everybody say something here as we wrap up and this 300th episode. Peter?
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's been a wild experience being on here since 2015. I've learned so much about the Carolinas, never knew so much about it until I got on this show.
Have you been here yet?
No, still never traveled there
You're
yet.
starting a GoFundMe page right now.
Please, yes. Everyone, please contribute.
Is the bus okay?
Train, bus, whatever. As long as I don't get mugged.
What type of region do you think we're running here?
I mean, I don't know. I've never been there. Anyway, yeah, we're off topic. But yeah,
totally
I've learned.
I will say, we do not destroy our cities when we win championships.
Yes, Philly.
You're pretty close to Philly, so I'm just kind of looping you in.
Yes. Thanks, James.
Sorry, you were saying something nice.
Anyway, yeah. Food. We've talked about food a lot on here. We've talked about everything on here, comparing New Jersey to Carolinas. Everything. So the other thing is all the guests we've had on here. It's amazing the people we've had. Like we've been mentioning James Spann and Gary England and just everybody around the country. It's just crazy. The people we've talked to. And
what about Larry Cosgrove?
Larry Cosgrove. We got to get Larry on here again soon. He was a good one. If you guys remember that show from back in the day. But we've had amazing guests, and I just hope we can continue this, get more people on here, and get some old ones back again. And I hope the viewers have learned a lot about the weather and just everything we've talked about. And yeah, let's keep the show going and do 100 more.
Evan, you met a guest that not
Yes.
only was a great guest,
Yep.
but also bought us food, which is clearly the way to our hearts.
Yeah, food is king here. Yeah, so Sid Sperry, he was a guest earlier this year. And honestly, I think one of the first guests that I was on the show with. And during our chasecation, he took Scotty, Chris, and Ann and I out to dinner in downtown Oklahoma City. And it was just an absolute treat. It was wonderful sitting down with him and his wife, getting to chat, getting to just catch up on how life has been since that show. And it's really nice to meet not only our guests but also our audience in the real world. And I'm super thankful for that. And on the topic of giving thanks, I am so thankful for this podcast and for everyone here. Just because, sorry, internal chat, y'all, it's cracking me up.
I'll just go ahead and put that on the screen.
So many opportunities for me to make connections as a college kid, and to prepare myself for the professional world. And I look forward to finally meeting all of you in person one day. I think I've got 3 down, 3 to go.
Peter is clearly the tricky, although I've met Peter.
Yeah, lucky you.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Well, college is a great place to meet people, Mr. Pounds.
I guess you're right.
And we're happy to have you on and spearheading our still recently new podcast enhancements.
Yeah, I'm kind of the newest and I guess the quietest of the panelists. I appreciate you guys having me on. As most of y'all have heard, most of my talents lie in post. I do a lot of editing after the fact and do some substitute technical directing when life happens and James can't be there. And yeah, just last week as well. So most of my talents happen off air, but I feel really lucky to be here. And I say I have learned a heck of a lot about weather just since my short time of being here since August.
And I think that's the key takeaway, and I hope you at home have learned a whole lot too, because we are here to be your advocate and have a conversation with folks, but we're learning alongside of you, and hopefully we're never embarrassed to ask what might be a stupid question or might not be a stupid question. Really, there are no stupid questions. So we appreciate you letting us be that voice, and Scotty, I appreciate you and Ricky and everyone who's laid this foundation. Somewhere along the way, you made the horrible decision to invite me on, but I really do appreciate the opportunity, and especially between my time working in TV, I personally found this to be a great niche to, as my wife likes to say, hear me talk. So with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you say your piece, and then I want to let you do what you do each and every week for 299 episodes and counting. Take us home, Scotty.
Well, thank you, James. And I wanted to say a big thank you to all of your families for allowing you to spend every Wednesday night with us here on the Carolina Weather Group. We want to thank you, the followers and the listeners. Thank you for spending time with us. And as James said earlier, thank you for trusting us. My little short bit is I just want to thank all of you guys who helped make this possible. This has grown into something way bigger than I ever thought it would be. I think it was James Spann who said earlier, they didn't think it would last. And at times I didn't think it would last, but here we are, 300 shows, and we're looking forward to hopefully another 300 more to come. I know as we come into the new year, we may be changing up a few things. We may not be on air as often, but we still plan to be here and give you the latest in information with weather and interviews. So as I always say, if you have any potential guests that you would like us to reach out to, any topics, please let us know. We'd love to do that. I want to thank you guys for allowing me. This is my little outlet. I know I look forward to every Wednesday night getting together with my friends here and you guys who are all watching us, my friends as well. I appreciate everyone's effort and time. My Siri just said she's not sure who my friends are.
we know who they are.
But just appreciate all of that and appreciate you guys spending your time with us. And it's been fun, and we hope to continue to do it. And it's like I said, it's an outlet for me because I could talk weather all the time, and I know that I have a great group of friends here that we can all talk to weather. We all generally, I feel like, get along really well. We all pitch in and do what we need to do to make this thing work. And that's the biggest thing. It's not about one single person. It's this whole team that is able to bring this to you. So with that, thank you everyone on the panel, current panel, previous panel members. Thank you for that. Guests, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'll probably be knocking on your door asking you to come back on the show again. But we're going to wrap up show number 200 or 299, I guess 300 now. Next week is show 301, and we have Dr. Douglas Miller on with us from the University of North Carolina at Asheville. We're going to be talking about Northwest Flow and Northwest Flow snow that the mountains of North Carolina has already seen. And we look forward to having that conversation. And then we're going to take a little break for Thanksgiving. So for all of us here at the Carolina Weather Group, thank you for making this possible. We couldn't do it without you. And we look forward to bringing you 300 more shows in the coming years. Everyone have a great night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for another episode of the Carolina Weather Group.